Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 1858. Be prepared to be inspired.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, inspiring automotive enthusiasts, and welcome to Cars Yeah. Today, I'm in beautiful Vienna, Austria, the lucky places I get to be, with a very special guest by the name of Paul Negyesi. Paul, welcome to Cars Yeah. Do you have it in gear, and are you ready to release the clutch?
I'm ready and able.
All right. Well, we're going to have some fun because what you're doing and what has come out of the pandemic has been something very delightful. But before we get into that, what's one little thing that maybe people don't know about you, pal?
There's a non-automobile aspect of me. For 5 years, I have operated a small private learning group in Hungary, which is sort of like an alternative school without being an actual school.
Wow. Well, I want to learn a little bit more about this. We'll dive into this when we start talking about your career path and this new publication, but that sounds fascinating. So keep that thought. Let me give you a proper introduction and then we'll dive into your story. Paul Negyesi came up with the idea for a new magazine last year in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. Due to the situation, a lot of great projects were either canceled or delayed, as we all know. Photographer Meyer sent Paul some great photos of a Stout Scarab to be used in a Hungarian classic car magazine, and these photos inspired Paul for the idea of a new quarterly magazine that he titles Rare and Unique Vehicles, which aims to show and interpret the rarest and the most unique vehicles from the world of classic motoring. Paul called on historians, restorers, collectors, and other people he knew in the vintage car world worldwide to write for this new magazine. Each issue focuses on a central theme, followed by a few anniversary-related features, and what he calls a Spin the Globe section, which is a unique column featuring unusual and interesting cars, motorcycles, trucks, buses, and other various transportation vehicles from around the world. The first issue came out in December of 2020. I just wanted to also mention that our past Cars Yeah guest, Ken Gross, which all of us in the car world know, I wanted you to hear a quote he said when he got his copy of Rare and Unique Vehicles. Just when you think you've seen it all, in the wonderful world of old cars and motorcycles, along comes something totally different. Indeed. We'll be back in just a minute to talk with Pal, but first a word from our valued sponsors, so sit tight. We're about to go on a very rare and unique vehicles ride. We'll be right back. Summer's here, thank goodness, and that means long, hot days. Covercraft's UVS custom sunscreens are quality made and are incredibly fast and easy to use. Your UVS sunscreen is custom tailored for your vehicle, and the accordion design ensures easy storage. Not only do they protect your dash and interior for maximum protection while parking in the sun, sunscreens keep your vehicle's interior significantly cooler. They're durable and dependable for years of use. I have one for all my vehicles, and I use them every time I park my car when I'm not going to put the cover on. You can choose from a variety of colors, including the original, their Premier Series, and Carhartt designs. Your sunscreen is manufactured with the quality and attention to detail that's been the standard for Covercraft since 1965. And they make really great gifts, too. Get your summer deal today if you use the code YEAH21, YEAH21 at covercraft.com. You'll get 10% off your Covercraft order. That's right, 10% off compliments of Cars Yeah. Simply use the code YEAH21 at checkout. Covercraft, protecting the things that move you. Get your own custom sunscreen today. I was tired of my rates for my collector car insurance going up every year for no explainable reason. My carrier seemed to be turning into a media company versus an insurance company, and I realized that a portion of my policy premium was paying for all those so-called free media goodies. So I did my homework, I talked to knowledgeable collectors, shopped around, and discovered American Collectors Insurance. They've been serving the collector car hobby since 1976. You last that long by properly serving your customers' insurance need, not with a lot of fluff. ACI is ranked the #1 online collector car insurance provider according to Google, Trustpilot, Facebook, and they offer their real person guarantee live support. No never-ending phone loops when you need help. Plus, because you don't use your classic car as a daily driver, you could save up to 40% compared to regular auto insurance. American Collectors Insurance provides agreed value policies. So if you experience a total loss to your collector vehicle or it's stolen, you'll be paid the amount listed on your declaration page, less any deductibles, of course. No ifs, ands, or buts. Give them a call today and ask for your free quote at 866-ACI-YEAH. That's 866-224-9324. Tell them you're a friend of mine, Mark Greens at Cars Yeah. American Collectors Insurance. Classic car insurance designed by collectors for collectors. All right, pal. So we're back. So what I'd love for you to do is start with maybe give us a little background about you, because you currently reside in Austria, but you mentioned getting involved in the history of Hungarian motoring and what you're doing there. You're also been involved with a concours in Hungary, and I'm going to butcher this, but it's the Balatonfüred. How do you say that?
Yeah, it's at the Balaton Lake. It's called the Balatonfüred Concours d'Elegance.
There you go. Much better than my Hungarian. And also, you've received the St. Christopher Merit Cross from the Hungarian Automobile Club. I mean, you've been involved in automobiles for a long time. So give us a little kind of a brief history of you, and then we're going to dive into Rare and Unique Vehicles magazine.
Thank you. Actually, this year, it's the 30th anniversary that my first article was published. I was 17, and as many young boys, I was interested in cars. The problem behind the Iron Curtain was that we did not have a lot of exciting cars. We had a lot of Lada and Trabant and Skoda cars. So when I was like 7 or 8, we looked at a nearby hotel where all the guests came from Germany and Austria with very interesting cars. So that's when I got my first impression of exciting cars. Mm-hmm. And then when I was 14, my parents brought home a lot of Japanese brochures, car brochures. They took a trip to Japan and they brought home a lot of brochures. And actually, when I was 14, I tried to write an article about these Japanese cars. I was so young, and it's a good thing that this article is not around anymore.
You got to start somewhere, pal.
Yeah, but by the age of 17, I discovered history, and I was mesmerized by automobile history. I went to Munich, to Germany, to do some research and study at the Deutsches Museum. They have a wonderful library. I spent 2 weeks there, and I learned a lot of things. And that's when I submitted my first article, which was the history of Dürrkopf, which was a small German brand at the beginning of the 20th century. And it got published, and I was very happy about that. That was 1991. And then from 92, I started writing about new cars. Then in 97, I got an offer that I can be an editor of a classic car magazine in Hungary. And it was a very exciting opportunity. My ideas were absolutely not in line of what the publisher had in mind. But together, we did 14 beautiful issues. And then something absolutely different came. So for the next 10 years, between the year 2000 to 2010, I was writing I was doing some books, but nothing very serious. Then in 2010, I got another offer to be a lecturer at the Hungarian University on Hungarian and international automobile industry history, the history of automobile worldwide, because I did an automobile encyclopedia in 2006 which was a 400-page book, and it was very, very cheap. So I started giving lectures, and that made me realize that this is something I really enjoy besides writing and researching. And in 2013, I enrolled in the School of Museum Studies at the University of Leicester, and I did my PhD on the history of automobile museums in Germany and Austria. While I completed my thesis, I started a lot of things related to museums. I became an advisor to a private museum in Hungary. I started doing the Concours d'Elegance because it also helped understand various methods of dealing with classic cars. You can look at it as an object of national identity, it's an object of industrial prowess, and so on. I would not like to go into that because the thesis is 286 pages.
Yeah, we may run out of time.
Yes. So, but the thing is that with the museology thesis, it enabled me to go to conferences. I got to meet a lot of wonderful people. And because of my writing career to various Hungarian outlets, I also got to meet a lot of and contact a lot of interesting people in the classic car world. So I would say that in the last 5-6 years, an international network appeared. Just it's emerged from all these discussions. And 2 years ago, in 2019, there were some great discussions about book deals and being an archivist in Germany for a collector and that sort of thing. So exciting project. Then came 2020, and it all came to a screeching halt.
No kidding. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone knows that. So last September, I was sitting in my car, and I was thinking that I will probably go stir crazy if I don't do something creative. And Gabor just sent me these beautiful pictures of the Stout Scarab. I was just talking to an English friend of mine who was doing some wonderful stuff on an app called Readly, where you can subscribe to and read a lot of magazines digitally. And it just occurred to me that, okay, let's try something radically different. And I spoke to a few people the subsequent weeks. And by the beginning of October, we had some articles, we had some finances in place, and the idea was to do a digital magazine, but then I asked the people that if I can reach a financial goal, then I can print the magazine. And within 2 weeks, I had enough subscribers to print the first issue.
Wow.
And from that, we just grew organically. So, and we have a growing readership worldwide. I was in Germany a week ago at the meeting of the German auto historians, and I got a round of applause for the magazine, which was kind of nice.
Well deserved.
Thank you. And we are hoping that the magazine will provide joy and fun for the readers, introduce previously unknown aspects of automobile history to an eager public.
I love what you're doing. And now, you originally grew up in what country?
I originally grew up in Hungary.
In Hungary. There's so many great parts to your story here. You were a young man interested in cars. You wrote articles that evolved into a career path around cars. I mean, you're the perfect guest here for cars. Yeah, people who've wrapped their passion into automobiles, trucks and cars and things like that. And most people may think, oh, another magazine? Aren't magazines dying? Why would somebody do that? But you found a niche, and what I'm seeing in the magazine industry now is this transition. I've had plenty of publishers on the show, from magazines of Avance here in the United States to 000 with the Porsche and Pete Stout, Magneto, Linkage now, Wayne Carini just launched a magazine, going to this new format of larger, more information, more beautiful, but not coming out every month, because that limits to what you can talk about. I think you're falling into a neat niche. And listeners, if you go to the website, and we'll put a link to that on Pal's show notes page, you'll go, what? What kind of car is that? I mean, it's some really, really rare and unique things. It's so cool. And I love that you've fallen into this niche and you're creating something out of a very bad situation that the world had to face here and still having to deal with a bit too today. But fortunately, things seem to be getting better for us all. Wonderful story. I think it's absolutely fantastic. Is there a inspiration or a driving inspiration in your life, Pal? Someone that was a key mentor that helped you move through your career path with automotive history and now into publishing a magazine? I mean, did you ever even think that you'd be doing this?
There are two people who I would like to mention here. One of them is David Cooper, who was on this show.
Yes.
In the last few years, we got to know each other very well, and he's been one of the pillars of the magazine, one of the great supporters, and now he's the associate editor, and he's been helping with me with various aspects. We are doing research projects together.
Oh, cool.
And I really appreciate his working ethos and the way he looks at everything in life. So I really appreciate that. The other person is Tony Palman. Tony is a Dutch classic car dealer, and we had some great journeys together, great projects together. And he's also a supporter of rare and unique vehicles. His advertisement is on the back cover of every issue. And his knowledge of automobile history and his passion for these very early cars. He was at the Balatonfüred Concours d'Elegance a few years ago with a 1904 Aster, which was a very early French car. And it's just great how he deals with these very interesting, very early cars.
Oh, absolutely. Both great people for sure. Now, each of your issues, as I mentioned in your introduction, focus on a central theme. And then you've got this Spin the Globe section, which is really cool, that unique column. If we talk about the current issue that's out right now, what's the focus theme there?
Issue number 3, which was published on the 10th of June, focuses on pre-war custom coach building with features on companies like Smith & Waddington in Australia, Fiol in Spain, Save in Germany, and the list goes on because there are 16 articles on pre-war custom coach builders.
Wow. So you go very in-depth with these issues, right?
We try, and with Smith & Waddington is a great example of how the magazine comes together. Many years ago, I found a photo album on one of the websites of an Australian museum, and it's a great photo album. And I had this stuck in my head that we have this photo album. And when the magazine came to be, I contacted the museum. They sent me all these great pictures. And then I found out that there are some cars surviving with Smith & Waddington bodies. Most of them are Rolls-Royces, which is great, but we already had another Rolls-Royce in the magazine, and I wanted something more rare and unique. And I realized that in 2009, somebody in New Zealand sold a Turcat Mary, bodied by Smith & Waddington. And that sounded like a great candidate. But that was 2009, and every trace of that transaction disappeared from the net. Through a lot of great people at prewarcar.com and other people, I found the dealer in New Zealand and realized that the car came to Slovenia, of all places.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Yeah, and as we have contributors in Slovenia, the car was photographed, and now it's in the magazine.
Oh my gosh. Well, this has got to be a bit of a detective work for you and your team to investigate so many of these vehicles that have long since disappeared off the face of the earth, if you will, companies that came and go. But I think what's wonderful And you learn this when you go to Concours events and you walk up to a car and you go, what's this? I've never even heard of this car. And an example I have is my daughter's name is Paige. And the first time we went to the Hershey car swap meet, which was long, 20 plus years ago, and marching through the mud, looking at all the old car parts for sale, this gentleman had a Paige. And I went, I've never even heard of a Paige. What is it? And now we've got the internet, of course, to look these things up and learn more about them. And I remember buying a little plaque off the radiator that I gave to my daughter when I came home with her name on it. But what you're doing is enlightening us our car enthusiasts, to these very, very unique vehicles. And I really want to thank you and your team for what you're doing, because even looking on your website, what is that? I've never seen anything like that before. And it spurs imagination and passion. And you never know, listeners, when you start to learn about these old cars, you may fall in love. Be careful. And then you go on this hunt to see if you can find one or anything about them. So this publication is a way to do it. We're going to take a short break. We come back. I want to talk a little bit about a challenge that you've faced. Could be in starting this new career path for you right now. So keep the seatbelts on in whatever unique old car you're driving today, and we'll be right back. What began as a charitable car show has grown into the world's greatest collector car auctions, raising over $133 million for charitable organizations to date. For nearly 50 years, automotive enthusiasts from all over the world have enjoyed the Barrett-Jackson collector car auctions, and I'm a huge fan. Regarded as the barometer of the collector car industry, their auctions are world-class lifestyle events where thousands of the world's most sought-after, unique, and valuable automobiles cross the block in front of a global audience, in person, on TV, or streamed online. Barrett-Jackson produces the world's greatest collector car auctions in Scottsdale, Arizona, Palm Beach, Florida, Las Vegas, Nevada, and new for 2021, Houston, Texas. The excitement of Barrett-Jackson auctions is contagious, and a unique experience is not to be missed. And be sure to visit barrettjackson.com today. Barrett-Jackson, the world's greatest collector car auctions. How did you discover your path to a fulfilling life? Too many young people flounder in finding an education and a career that fits. But for those who have a passion for cars, trucks, and motorcycles, and who love working with their hands, problem solving, and fixing things, a career as a professional auto technician is incredibly rewarding. Cars Yeah is pleased to team up with TechForce Foundation, our charity of choice, in bringing scholarships, technical education, and hands-on experience to young people so they can discover a possible future. Join me and lend your support by visiting techforce.org today. So, Pal, let's talk about a big challenge. Now, obviously, we were met with the pandemic, but you looked at that and said, okay, I'm going to go nuts if I'm just sitting around doing nothing. I'm going to do something. And I've heard this from a lot of great guests during the pandemic, or if you go back to the economic crisis in 2007, 8, and 9, people that want to do something with their lives say, this isn't going to get me. I'm going to find a way around it. And that's what you did. My hat's off to you for that. Let's talk about you're welcome. Let's talk about a big challenge. For instance, getting into the publication business. Oh my goodness. That had to have a few challenges for you.
Yes, but it wasn't actually that difficult. The challenge which I would like to mention here, one challenge.
Yes.
And that was a bit over 20 years ago. I graduated from university and was looking for a career path. Mm-hmm. And I was just finishing this classic car magazine in Hungary, and I was looking for something where I could earn some real money. So a friend of mine got me this great project manager job at an internet company. And I've been on the internet since 1993. I had my first website up in 1995.
Wow.
So I know about websites. I know about the internet. I can organize things. What could go wrong? Everything.
Oh,
everything.
Yeah.
Everything which could. Within half a year, I got an ulcer and a broken mobile phone because of heated discussions with the management. Let's put it that way. And so that put an end to my project manager career. But this, in turn, after a little hiccup, led to another company, which I set up 17 years ago, which is an automotive industry consultancy, and it is still around. And this is now my life about data, whether it's historical data, researching cars for the magazine, researching history of Hungarian automobile industry. Everything is about finding the data.
Wow. Well, you have a good talent for turning lemonade from lemons, my friend. I love that this part of our talk, because these challenges, when you look at things differently, can lead to really great things, and they typically do. And in your case, most definitely, you got that one figured out. So very cool. When you look ahead to, let's say, a bucket list item for yourself, is there? I have a feeling your bucket is full of a lot of stones, things you want to do. Is there one thing in particular you'd like to share today that, looking into the future, you'd really like to accomplish?
One thing I have in mind is to be able to be a lecturer at an American college or university and teach automobile history, let's say Central and East European automobile history, to American students. That's one of my goals.
Well, there's some great schools here in the United States that definitely focus on that kind of thing, or they have areas that kind of field. So maybe I can make some introductions to some people that have been on the show here before. That sounds like a great thing to do, teaching young people about the history of automobiles. Anything in history is so important that it's taught correctly and properly, so people really know where things have come from. I always like to ask my guests about a special vehicle in their life, a story about that vehicle. Is there a car, truck, motorcycle that stands out for you?
This happened again a little bit more than a week ago, at this meeting I mentioned previously of the German auto historians. I got the chance to sit in the Maikäfer. The Maikäfer was made in 1931 by Josef Ganz. Basically, Maikäfer translates as Maybach. And this was one of the forerunners of the Volkswagen Beetle.
Yeah. Okay. Now I know what you're talking about. Yes.
Okay. This was built in 1931, featuring a motorcycle engine and a backbone chassis. So the theory was the same as with the Beetle later on. And this prototype was tested by Professor Ferdinand Porsche, Professor Paul Járai. So I was basically sitting in the same seat where decades ago Ferdinand Porsche sat.
Whoa.
And the owner, Dieter Dressel, who owns Central Garage in Germany, a great automobile museum, had this idea that in 1931 Josef Ganz did a marketing stunt, and he went under a trailer with the car, and he thought about doing something similar. So there was a barrier nearby, and we went under the barrier.
In fact, I'm going to put a link to that video on Pal's show notes page so you can see that. You look at that car, it looks like almost like a little kid's car in a way. You two had to sit in close quarters to be next to each other. But for a historian like you, that must have been an amazing moment of your life.
Yes.
Wow.
The significance of the car and seeing it up close and personal was really special. And I'm very, very grateful to the owner of allowing me to ride shotgun with him and participate in this experience.
It's incredible to me the car even exists still, that it's still around. Has it been restored over time?
Yes. It was owned by a legendary German historian, Graf Wolf Metternich, and he died a few years ago. He was one of the best-known German historians. And while the car was in his ownership, it was restored once, but it has been restored again recently. And in fact, this was the first ride with the car after restoration.
Oh, wow. And you got to sit in the car and ride along. So I love this next question. I'm going to get into your mind a little bit here. If you were manifest as a vehicle, given all this history knowledge that you have, but who you are as a person, pal, what would you be, but more importantly, why?
The answer to this question is fairly easy. I asked this question from my wife. What do you think, which car I would reborn? And she knew the answer immediately. Okay, do you know probably some of the listeners know the La Jama Contan. A replica is in the Lane Motor Museum. La Jama Contan was an electric racing car built in 1899, and this was the first car which crossed the 100 kilometer per hour threshold.
Ah, okay. History making.
Le Jamais content means never satisfied.
Ah, okay.
That's me, never satisfied.
Always wanting to learn. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, what a great answer to that question. You got the idea of that question very clearly. And you're always wise to ask your wife because they always know us best, right? Absolutely. Are there some ways, and this is almost a bit redundant to ask this question of you because you want to teach history. You've done this your whole life. Your magazine is teaching us history about these very obscure, unique vehicles that many of us have never heard of nor seen pictures of before. Is that your way of giving back to others and helping the automotive sector?
Partly. Increasingly, let's say that.
Yeah.
I also have a few other websites where I try to inform and educate people. There's one about automobile museums worldwide, automuseums.info, which lists over 1,100 collections from 67 countries. There's a Hungarian language website which deals with the history of Hungarian automobile and motorcycle history. There's an English language website, See Auto Classic, which deals with the history of Central and East European region. So I'm trying, since 1995, when I set up my first website, which was about automobile history, I'm trying to teach mostly Hungarian, but now the worldwide audience about fascinating and unknown aspects of automobile history.
Absolutely. I'll make sure I put links to all these on Pal's Cars Yeah show notes page, and you just go to Cars Yeah and type in Pal, P-A-L, is his first name. Spelling of his last name is N-E-G-Y-E-S-A, but if you just put Pal in there, he's the only Pal who's been a guest on the show, and his page will pop right up, and I'll put links to all those so that you can go and experience those. Is there a great book you'd like to share with us that you've read?
There was a great author, Michael Sedgwick. He was the librarian at the National Motor Museum in the UK back in the 70s and early 1980s, and he did a series of books. One of those was Cars of the 1930s, and the British has a certain style of writing, and this book is the absolute epitome of that you can transfer information, you can publish an incredible amount of information in a very fun, easygoing, humorous way.
I'll make sure I put a link to that. Michael Sedgwick, Cars of the 1930s. And I'm sure you listeners can also find his other books as well to enjoy. We'll take one more short break, pal. We come back, we're going to go on what I like to call the ultimate drive. Now, you just took one of those in that beautiful little vehicle that you shared with us. But maybe the ultimate drive for you looks like something even more spectacular. So keep that thought in mind, and we'll be right back. I've discovered Linkage. It's a new quarterly publication and website that covers the automotive market, driving, restoring, collecting, and discovering your passion for motor vehicles. Linkage is about experiences, opinions, and values. Linkage is an actual informed, reasoned opinion based on first-hand experiences. A talented Linkage team covers the automotive world, the people who share your passion and mine, smart, considered, rational, and experienced opinions, ones you can learn from and grow. That includes our passion that drives auctions and the collector car market. So come with me and join us on this journey. And be sure to use the code CARSYEAH when you subscribe, and they'll give you $10 off. Boom! Linkage, geared for the automotive life. Subscribe today at linkagemag.com. So, pal, I'm going to let you go on the ultimate drive, which means you get to pick the vehicle, which this should be very interesting given your historic knowledge of automobiles. You get to pick who you're with. This could be somebody living or deceased. Where are you going to be going? Who's driving? So what does this very rare and unique ultimate drive look like for you?
Well, this may surprise a lot of people, but it's a very well-known car to the American listeners. It's a Mercer Raceabout.
Oh, yes.
And this particular Mercer Raceabout once belonged to Henry Austin Clark Jr. and to the collection of the Long Island Auto Museum. And I would like, if time travel would exist, I would like to sit down with Henry Austin Clark Jr. and talk about automobile history research.
Yeah, wouldn't that be fun?
If you recall, his collection of over a ton of material was donated to the Benson Ford Research Center within the Henry Ford.
Incredible. That would be something, wouldn't it? Now, would you be at the wheel or would he be at the wheel?
He would be at the wheel.
He would be at the wheel.
He at the wheel. As I understand from the biographies I read about him, he was a very interesting character, and he wrote the Standard Catalog of American Cars together with Beverly Ray Kimes, and he was just an absolutely magnificent researcher.
No kidding. Yeah, it sounds like it, especially when you think about everything that he donated. You said it was over a ton of material?
Yes.
Wow. And that's the, is that the Type 35R Raceabout? Is that the car? Yeah, it's yellow, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. I think I've seen that vehicle. I wonder, do they get that out to Concours events and so forth?
To be honest, I don't know where the car resides today, but it would be exciting to find out.
Yeah, I think so. Sounds spectacular. Nice choice. Well, you've taken us on a wonderful journey here, pal, and I want to encourage listeners to check out Rare and Unique Vehicles magazine, because you're going to learn things that you didn't even know you wanted to learn when you flip through the pages and look at the incredible in-depth articles and pictures and stories. Pal has put together an amazing team of writers and photographers, historians here to bring these cars back to life for all of us. Before I let you go, pal, could you share maybe a parting word of wisdom, advice for our listeners today?
Not so much as an advice, as something I live by. There is a saying, I know it in Hungarian, probably it exists in English. All we need to be happy is a good monomania. And yeah.
Could you say that in your native tongue in Hungarian so we can hear what it sounds like?
Are you sure?
Yeah.
A boldogsághoz nem kell más, csak egy kis rögeszme.
There you go. Beautiful. Well, again, listeners, you can go to their website, rareandunique.media. That's where you'll find them. Or if you're driving or on a bike or running right now, you can just go to the Cars Yeah website, type PAL in the search bar, PAL, and you'll find his website or his page on my website and links to his website. Check out Rare and Unique Vehicles. Absolutely spectacular. I mean, the things that I've learned just in my short relationship with Pal here have been amazing. Very, very cool. And a shout out to our good mutual friend here, Gabor Meyer, who sent those original pictures. And then he's the guy that seemed to have kicked this whole thing off. And he's the one who introduced us. So thank you very much for that, Gabor. That's very kind of you. Pal, thank you for being so generous today with your time and incredible expertise. I think I could crawl into your head and spend hours there learning about these old vehicles and for sharing your experiences in this new publication with us today. Until you and I talk again, my friend, I'll see you down the road.
Thank you very much. See you soon, hopefully.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.